Nobody giving us nothing. I don't want anybody to give me something. I want to take it.
Makes a handoff, 3 coming at him, he throws, and it is intercepted. DeAndre Smelter went up against 2 defenders and hauled it in at the 13-yard line.
Get ready for 60 minutes of war now. It ain't going to be easy. You got to take it. You want it, you got to take it.
Welcome to our weekly Inside the Swarm series. I'm Brandon Gaudin. This week, pleased to be joined by quarterbacks and B-backs coach Bryan Cook. And we're going to talk about that Georgia Tech spread option offense. And I guess, Cookie, the first question that I have is, now that I've been here a year and watched the offense, so much has been talked about Auburn and Oregon and some of these teams revolutionizing the offensive schemes of college football. But really, how much different is that from what Georgia Tech is doing?
I don't think much. I think if you look at core principles, there are things that are a little bit different, and certain things that we can talk about. But all in all, we're a whole lot like some of the other people playing on Saturday, more so than people probably are led to believe.
Yeah, and so you put some stuff up here on the whiteboard. Take us through what's up here and kind of educate us on the similarities or differences.
Sure. Well, this is Georgia Tech. This is kind of our base play. This is when people say the option. This is kind of the play that they refer to. It's a triple option. This is ideally we'd love to run this half the game if we could, but for us, we run this, I'd say maybe 12, 15% of the season, depending on the nature of the games and anything that we see from a defense. But it's just a triple option where we're going to read the 2 defenders at the point of attack. We're basically going to come off with our offensive line and try to create a crease and get movement, and then read the 2 guys at the point of attack. And the quarterback is going to look at the first one and determine whether he's going to give the ball to the B-back or whether he's going to keep it and run downhill and take it to the next guy that we call the pitch key. And so that's a triple option where one of 3 guys could end up with the ball based on how the defense reacts. This is really some of the shotgun spread. You mentioned Auburn, Oregon, some of the teams that do it out of the shotgun. This is really the same exact play. There's a couple of differences. Number one, if you were watching it on TV, obviously the quarterback being 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, taking a shotgun snap. Secondly, would be the splits that the offensive line has. They're smaller. There's probably bigger bodies. They use what people in football call a zone scheme, blocking up front. But it's still just a triple option. They're going to read the defensive end to determine whether the quarterback's going to give it to the dive back or whether he's going to keep it. And then they'll make a perimeter decision off of this guy. So some people do that pre-snap to where they're going to throw the pitch pre-snap. Sometimes it's done after they read the dive key, and then they'll run out and make a decision based on that guy. But it's essentially the same concept.
So the main difference then is in the blocking scheme, is that correct?
Yeah, there's a couple main differences. The timing, because we're under center, we come off the ball, and we're into the line of scrimmage and downhill as fast as we can be. Okay, so the timing, and that's what when people play us and they haven't in the past, that's something that they're usually surprised and shocked by, and to the naked eye you can tell. This goes lateral a little bit, and the timing is much slower because of the shotgun snap and the mesh 5 yards behind, and the backs, coming from a distance, and it takes a little more time. The other difference is that when we pitch the ball based on the outside linebacker, the pitch key, when we pitch it, it's still a run. When these guys get it out on the perimeter, it's a pass. So if they throw this perimeter quick screen based on whatever their perimeter count is or whatever determination to throw the ball out here, it's a forward pass. So that gets charted as a pass, and everybody watching it says, well, that's a pass play. For us, that gets categorized as a run play, is where really it's the same thing.
So now that we've learned that these are really 2 pretty similar offenses, what is the reason for going with this one versus that one, or that one versus this one? Why does this fit Georgia Tech so much better and what you guys like to do?
Well, for us, I think this is, you can control the game from a physicality standpoint in this offense. It's an attacking nature, the way we come off the ball. And we look for different type of linemen than everybody else. Everybody else is looking for the 310 pound, 6 foot, 5.5 offensive tackle. And for us, we tend to value athleticism and a guy that can run and bend and really have some explosiveness rather than length. And so sometimes we look for something a little bit different in recruiting, but really it's just kind of what we're comfortable with. And if we look at the production that we've had in this thing compared to the teams that are, I'd say this spread offense, this is probably the commonplace when the ACC, if you rewind probably 12 years ago, it was people lining up in the eye with a fullback or having 2 tight ends and running the ball downhill with zone schemes. And a lot, like I'd say Pittsburgh is probably the team right now. If you were to say a common team 10, 12 years ago, it was that style of offense that a team like Pittsburgh probably uses now. Now in the ACC, this spread, that you see North Carolina and Clemson and a lot of those other teams that you mentioned, NC State, a lot of the teams use spread option principles or something to that nature. Very, very rarely are people just lining up and handing the ball off to a tailback anymore and making him have to miss a safety.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times, and we've talked about this before, but people kind of oversimplify the Tech offense as the triple option when that's really just one play in a variety of things in your arsenal. What percentage of plays that you guys run roughly are option plays?
Well, I'd say it varies by season and personnel and things of that nature, but I'd estimate between 20 and 40% of the offense are some type of option, and some years that's higher, some years that's lower. Now, the triple option play itself, I'd say we're going to run that 140 to 150 times a season, and that varies. This year was probably a little bit lower, but then you have double options. You have different type of double options, different type of triple options. So it can vary, but I'd estimate 35 to probably 45%.
Tempo, that's a thing that a lot of people like to talk about, the pace of the game and so forth. How about Georgia Tech's offense historically? What has the tempo been?
We're one of those teams that we like to get in the huddle and have the communication and the quarterback to look everybody in the eye and everybody to be on the same page and then break the huddle. And once we break the huddle, attack the line of scrimmage. That's the thing that's a little bit unique about us is the way that we sprint out of the huddle and get to the line of scrimmage. And that means that if you were to look at the numbers, we average less plays per game than some of the spread teams. They're all about getting the ball snapped as often as they can. Auburn or some of these teams, I'm not sure how many plays a game they average. I mean, Oregon tries to pride themselves on trying to get close to 80 plays a game, and I know there's some teams that BYU, I thought I saw they ran over 1,100 plays this year. That's a lot of plays. I think we were down near 900. And so when you look at points per game, really points per play is probably a statistic that's undervalued. For us, that's what we try to look at. I think we average maybe 35 points a game. And by the number of plays that we run and the tempo that we use, which also helps our defense, because then they don't have 15 drives to defend, is where if you're going really fast, you're going to put your defense back out in the field, and instead of having 12 drives to stop, they now have 15 drives to stop. And so, I think a lot of those numbers, and you look at the pass production, and I think we threw the ball 16 or 17 times a game, something like that. Well, that was with only 900 plays. If you take, there's a lot of teams that people say they're spread and they throw it, and they'll throw it 19 times a game, but they run 6 more plays a game than we do, or 10 more plays a game than we do. So that's probably the tempo has really changed college football, and it probably skews statistics a little bit more now than it did maybe 10, 15 years ago.